Welcome to 5 Minutes, your quick dive into the wide-ranging world of insurance, technology, and leadership. I'm Miguel Edwards, and I'll be your guide as we explore these topics that are transforming not just the insurance industry, but the business world at large. Along with sharing observations I've made over the span of my career in insurance, technology, and operations, I'll be chatting with some of the brightest minds in business and leadership. Whether you're a seasoned executive or a rising star, an industry expert, or just curious about how technology is revolutionizing insurance, this is your perfect spot for your weekly dose of insights. This is 5 Minutes. You made mention of a report that you guys commissioned that I just want to ask you a couple of questions about. Just first off, give us a little bit of some insight as to what was the impetus behind that report, because it's pretty fascinating looking at the disparity between cohorts of people contemplating readiness for technology. Give us a little bit of background of the report you commissioned, as well as kind of what was the impetus and the results.
Yeah, so it's interesting, right? This industry is littered with surveys, right? Everybody does a survey. Everybody, all of the advisory firms do them, right? That's great. The reality is most of them are paid for it.
Yeah.
Right. And so what we wanted to do was go independent. We wanted to do something and go out and really focus on the operational leaders, the operational staffs within the carriers. So we went out to carriers, MGAs, and Insurtech startups, right? And so that was really kind of through this. We didn't go into agencies. Okay. We really focused on the carriers, the MGAs, and the Insurtechs. And we really went after all positions within those companies. And we had an overwhelming response. We had a goal and we surpassed the goal for the respondents. And so what we really were focused in on was, what are the operational leaders and people within these organizations really saying, and how do they really feel about where they're positioned in the industry, how they're going to move forward, what kinds of things that they're ready to deploy, right? And we covered a broad spectrum of topics, and we came up with some pretty interesting findings. We just released the report. Anybody can go out to our website, covenirbpo.com, and get a free copy of the report. It's a phenomenal piece of information, and there's some really good insights in there on how we pulled the data from the various questions together. And I found it to be hugely insightful. When I saw the results, I was skeptical, because I've been around in this industry a while, but I was very, very impressed with.
Give us a little taste of what you guys saw in the results.
Well, there's a lot, but just a few of the examples. One is that operational executives are far more optimistic than those people reporting to them.
Interesting.
By a large gap, right? So 90-ish% of executives feel very well positioned. They feel like they're kind of a high level of trust in themselves and their ability to make decisions around things like AI. Operational staff, less than 50%, right? And so big stretch there of the people who think they are and the people who are on their teams feeling like they are not necessarily strategically well positioned and or ready to do that. So
I know, David, that I assume it was not in the scope of the survey as to what's driving that disparity, but given your experience in the industry, do you have any hypothesis as to what that could be?
Again, purely hypothesis. And I would say this is also based on my own experience from running tech startups and running large, enterprise organizations and what we do today. I think the biggest reason, the most probable reason for that is that the senior teams are not bringing their individual contributors along for the ride. They're not educating them. They're not bringing them into the strategy conversations.
Gotcha.
They're not being exposed. It's kind of a push down instead of a bring it up. And so what we try to do is really bring, and again, we talked about it in that compliance thing, is to not be doing things in a silo, right?
Yeah.
It's really about getting the right voices at the table, right? We're in the process right now of looking at a new solution, right? And again, it's really a technology play about bringing some AI into, actually it's on our call center side. But in that conversation, I have marketing at the table, right?
Yeah.
I have sales at the table.
Right.
I have the technologists at the table. I have the people who are dealing with our customers at the table, because I don't want to just build something for the sake of building it. I want to understand what's the business problem that we're trying to solve. And then based on that, let's bring a solution that's really meaningful to the table, right? And so I think all of those voices, right? And then everybody buys into it, right? And so I think one of the reasons that we see the big disparity between the execs and the individual contributors,
Right.
again, purely hypothesis, but based on my experience, is because we're not bringing those people along.
Thank you for joining this episode of 5 Minutes. If you've enjoyed our discussion, we'd love for you to share it with anyone else you think might find it interesting. Also, please subscribe on whatever podcast platform you're listening on and hit that bell to stay on top of the game with our practical 5-minute episodes. We look forward to seeing you again next week.